What's going on, everybody? It's me, Mark Robertson, back in today, and today starts summer, so let's get into it. Don't forget to hit the like button down below, and I will put the indentation up in the right-hand corner to see other videos that you might enjoy. I am with my friend Charles here,
Nice to meet you guys. Glad to be here.
and we're going to be doing our 2017 NBA mock draft. We both have our mock draft set up. We both have our reasons for why different people are going different ways, and hope you guys enjoy this fun debate. So, you have anything to add?
Nope. I am a Boston fan, so I'm a little bit different from a lot of you guys, maybe Kings fans or Lakers fans. So I'm a Boston fan from the Sacramento area. So that gives me a little bit of a fun look, especially with the number one pick. So number one pick for me, I have for the Boston Celtics is Martell Fultz. This is a commodity pick. It's one of these weird picks because with Boston you have Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, and even Rozier and Isaiah Thomas. And the big thing I think we have to realize is that in the same year you're going to have Avery Bradley and Isaiah Thomas becoming free agents. I think that's 2018.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you're going to have to make a decision who you're going to keep. I think they're going to keep Isaiah, but you still want to have that other scorer besides Isaiah. And Fultz gets buckets. He's 23 points per game on a very difficult Washington team. On a Washington team that he tried to carry in a really tough Pac-12. Oh my goodness, that Pac-12 was really good this year.
I totally agree with you. I'd taken Fultz too. Playing in 25 games for 33.7 minutes, that's a lot of the time that a player has on the court. Shooting 50% from the field, 41.3 from the three-point line, and 64 from the free throw, which could be a little bit low for, obviously, the guard position. You would want to get that up a little bit. But the way I see it is he also gets 5.9 assists and up to 5.7 boards to go along with almost 2 steals and almost 1.5 blocks. So he could be a really good two-guard defender. So I could see him being played next to Isaiah for while they're still in it. And then once it comes to the year, either they could try to go for Isaiah because let's be honest, when Isaiah becomes a free agent, he's going to be looking for money.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be such a high commodity that he's going to be definitely up in those $30 million a year.
If he does it again next year. That's the biggest thing with Isaiah. Yeah. Isaiah did it great this year. Any other year he'd probably be in the MVP conversation. But he did it, but this is 1 year. We really need to see if he does it again next year, he's gonna get the money. Somebody will pay, whether it's Boston or somebody's gonna pay Isaiah. And especially with the league going the way it is with all the shooting and everything, you're gonna find a way to pay him. The other thing with him shooting so low with the free throws, he shoots 7 free throws a game.
That's true.
So he's going to get to the line. And as a Boston fan, I actually am kind of for Boston getting rid of this pick. Now, that could, again, I don't see it. It could be Jimmy Butler would be a great pickup. I don't know. Again, with Chicago, with the way that team is constructed, they are so weird, and that front office is so out of whack. So I could potentially see a deal where Boston gets Butler and a couple other things. It's going to be difficult though, just with even if you win a Butler. Chicago gives up Butler and somebody else for like Crowder, the number one pick, and a couple other things. It's still a very difficult thing to swing, especially with Chicago and the weird situation it is. Also with Utah, with Gordon Hayward being a free agent this year, I could see Boston easily just saying, hey, we're going to keep this pick and we're just going to sign Hayward and go from there.
One thing, I totally agree with you with the Hayward. With obviously he was once a Butler. Brad Stevens being once Butler's coach, and he coached Gordon Hayward during the championship year. But I see them like moving down, like not like out of the top 10, because I could see them like trying to go after one of the possibly Lauri Markkanen just to have another person in the 4 spot because obviously Amir Johnson is getting a little bit older, and they don't really have. Obviously, Kenny Olynyk will be a free agent as well, so they don't really have somebody at that 4 spot. So I could see them moving down, or even like trying to trade just for a smaller position. I don't see them going for Jimmy Butler though, because they're looking for someone that, as we can see in the playoffs, even though LeBron's not, for some reason, not performing as great as he is normally in the playoffs, he can definitely be. They're looking for someone that can guard him during a playoff run. Because obviously, if they pick up Hayward, they're going to be better next year. Because Isaiah and Hayward on the same team, and Horford and Smart and all them on the same team is going to be really deadly.
It's still going to be interesting because you need LeBron could be around for another 4 years. I'm worried. I'm a little bit skeptical of him being as great as he is for 4 to 5 years because he hasn't had a major injury yet.
That's true.
Which I don't wish that on anybody, but he has not gotten injured. He's not. It's like he's never had any problems, and that's I think one of the great things about LeBron that I think we will all remember as we get older is like the guy never got
hurt.
injured. He never got hurt.
He got no weakness.
I'm like, my goodness. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but give it out to everybody else because pulling out something out of the hat. So. And I don't see Boston going and getting Ball. Obviously, today we found out that Ball's not going to even work out for the Celtics. I don't think it's even a really good fit for Boston, just because he's a pass first point guard. We want to play with pace, and he could play great in Brad Stevens' system. But I don't. Again, It's so much of a logjam in Boston, and they need another scorer besides Isaiah.
So. To lock down this first pick, we're both going with Fultz, right?
Yep.
All right. So talking about Ball, let's move on to 2. I have obviously the Lakers taking Lonzo Ball. We've been seeing this for a long time. He went to UCLA. He went to Chino Hills. It's all in the same general area. I do see. I read earlier that the Lakers were also targeting a workout with De'Aaron Fox and Dennis Smith Jr. I see them looking at it just on the matter of his father. Like, I know everyone's like, well, once Lonzo makes the league, it'll be his own decision. I think his father's really brought his draft stock down, though. Like, just in the factor of, like, he's calling out different people. Like, he called out LeBron on his family. Like, if you want to keep your family's reputation up, and even though I know it doesn't like fully affect Lonzo's reputation, but it could affect his younger son's reputations in the future, especially with him having that huge of a issue with the Chinos coach. How there was like reports that he was like going to pull LaMelo out of Chino Hills at that point. So
here's my thing with it. LeVar went to the Trump school of just figuring out how to market, because he's made so many crazy statements in the past 6 months, ever since he's gotten on TV. And he's been promoting his brand. I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal, because he's going to run his mouth, but the difference is there's, again, the son is super quiet, super mellow. Everyone has said great things about it. He's a winner.
Oh yeah.
And even LeVar doing his thing, honestly, I think most GMs are going to be able to differentiate it. And even at this point, I think LeVar's doing a lot of that just to promote the Big Baller brand, which could be again. I don't like
the factor that, and I know we're going now off topic, but like when Lonzo was trying to go look for different sponsorships from like Adidas and Nike and Under Armour and places like that, they weren't taking him because the only way they were going to take him was if they were going to pay some amount to the Big Baller brand to allow them to use Lonzo's name, which I understand it's kind of his agent. His dad's literally his agent, but
the other thing we have to look at is that with Adidas, I said they wanted a lot of money. They wanted like $100 million. Actually, was it $100 million?
I thought it was just $1 million or something like that.
No, it was. They wanted a lot of money. They want a lot of money to sign up all three sons. Which at this point, I think it was $100 billion for.
I don't think it was all three of them. Was
it
it $100 billion for all three of them?
For all three of them, and Mark's now looking up. There's $100 million for all three of them. Now he's bumped it up to $3 billion. The biggest thing you have to realize is that he's gonna make all these comments and everything, and then he's just gonna go over and advertise. And I don't have as much of a problem with it because you're gonna have one of his sons is gonna be is transcendent. He's a Jason Kidd type player. Now, if his other two sons are end up being starters, that $100 billion, especially with the amount, how much inflation and all the other stuff, the value of money is going up. That 100 actually going down relatively, and the amounts are going sky high. That's not outside the question. I mean, LeBron's got $100 billion thing with actually not billion. Is it billion? Something like that. It was $100 million. You
got a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But that was for his lifetime thing after they'd taken care of him. Especially with these young guys coming out and how good Lonzo could be. That number is not out of the question. So I'm not as worried about his dad. I think his dad being is going to be there. He's going to be a loudmouth wherever he's at. And ultimately, I think that most GMs and most people are going to be like, great, let him just talk. As long as he's not going to be creating chemistry problems, which he did not do at UCLA, and because he stopped coaching them. He stepped away from coaching them at Chino Hills and at UCLA. I don't see as much of a problem in the NBA. I think he's going to be there. He's going to be a loudmouth. He's going to be in the media. But I don't see as much of a problem.
With us seeing Lonzo's success being so high, with being obviously a top 2, top 3 pick.
Yeah.
Do you see him? Do you see either of the other two brothers being that good?
LaMelo could be good. Could be really just as good.
So you're just going straight over LiAngelo?
I think he could be. I don't know how good he's going to be. I don't know.
He's the best shooter out of the three of them.
LiAngelo's the youngest, right? Or
LaMelo's the youngest. Yeah, LiAngelo's the little bit of the bigger one.
He could be. Again, he could still end up in... I don't see him being as good yet. Again, he hasn't really burst onto the scene as much as Lonzo did.
That's true.
And biggest thing that Lonzo did was he revived UCLA. He saved Steve Alford's job. And he revived UCLA basketball. He's given them a whole lot of future to look forward to with all three of his brothers. So I'm not super worried about it. I think that they're gonna. I don't know if they'll be as good. I think one of them could be really, really good.
I think LiAngelo will be. I think the middle one might. Obviously, Lonzo will be the best one.
Yeah.
But I think LiAngelo will be pretty good, and I think even if he's not that good, I could see LaMelo being one of those kind of guys that go off of like 10-day contracts, and then sooner or later he'll grab something.
Because of how he scored. He can score. And even the 92-point game, which everybody may kill him, be like, oh, he cherry-picked. I watched the film from that.
He still played defense.
And he made some shots that it's just like...
How do you make them?
It's like... And he's a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
So
he's already committed to UCLA.
He's gonna be good. He's gonna be playing tough. Now, I don't know if he's gonna be as good as Lonzo. Probably not, but... Yeah, so we both agree.
So locking in for number 2, we go for ball.
Both going ball, and another big question for the Lakers will be, who do you get rid of? Do you get rid of Clarkson? Do you get rid of Russell, or do you keep both of them after you draft Lonzo Ball?
So, really quickly, going for Lakers, I'm gonna ask you a question. If they decide that maybe we don't want to we'll go a different way and look at a different idea and not take Ball. Do you think they'll offer the 2 and possibly either Clarkson or Russell to Indiana to get Paul George? I don't think so because he's
No.
going to be a 1-year rental.
No. And with Paul George, I know that everybody's trying to recruit him to LA anyway. That's where he's from.
I don't see him going to LA.
No, I think he could end up in LA, but I think it'll be more likely in free agency, and that's why you're not seeing a lot of teams really going over and trying to get Paul George.
Yeah.
Because unless you can get them to say, hey, sign their extension, we want you. We want you to sign the extension. He signs the extension. It's a 1-year rental, and that could be really, really devastating for a lot of teams, especially if they go and throw the house and everything at a
It's
team.
the same. It's the same thing with. It's the same with the DeMarcus trade. How now he's only a 1.5-year rental. So and he's already said that he's not going to resign with the Pelicans. He already said.
Well, and another really great classic look at this, and this is something that the reason Boston even got this pick this year is
the Giant
is the Giant trade in 2013 where they fleeced the Nets for, hey, we want it. If you want, you have to be aware where you have to balance that. I want to contend now, or I want to be patient, because the Nets wanted to contend in the worst way, and they traded, I don't know how many, again, basically they traded their draft future until 2018, 2019. All for 3 players.
I'm curious, did they get... they got Gerald Wallace.
They got, again, Boston got Gerald Wallace. They got guys to fill in for the cash space.
Keep going.
And then eventually they got off their contracts. But they got all those picks. And with the way Brooklyn has deteriorated as quickly as they have, I mean, Boston has set themselves up. Even for next year, they have the Nets pick.
Okay, so let's move on to number 3.
This is where we differ.
Yes, this is where we differ a lot. So this is the Philly pick that they originally weren't going to be in the top 3 because somehow, some way, the balls fell in Sacramento's corner and they went from 8 to 3, and Philly hit 5, and so the swap happened, obviously because the draft rights made it so that we had to swap. So via Sacramento, Philly gets 3, and I'm taking Malik Monk. And my reasoning behind this, and I know you don't believe me, is they don't have any knockdown scorers. They have Robert Covington. They have Sauce Castillo. Like, they got
McConnell.
McConnell can't shoot.
Exactly.
Like, obviously we've seen them, like, target point guards, but I have no faith in them taking a point guard. I have them taking... Either they take one of the 2 top small forwards in either Jackson or Tatum, or they take Malik Monk, or they trade the pick. Like, Sacramento could end up trying to trade back their pick and try to get, and still take Fox, even though.
Okay.
But I have Malik going just because he scored 19.8, was just destroying teams on a nightly basis, and yeah, I think on 49.7 shooting and almost 40% from the 3 ball and 82% from free throw range, he's going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Isn't going to be this. It's going to be the front court is going to be Ben Simmons and Malik Monk.
Here's why I don't like this pick. I disagree with you. First off, Malik Monk, if he was 3 inches taller, would be either a top 1 or 2 pick.
Very true.
He would be. He's just, again, he's 6'3" as a small forward.
He'd be averaging 25 points.
That too.
In that division.
Oh. And yeah, no, he's a stud. I don't like it because I don't think, again, you have the Timofey, I'm going to butcher his name. They have the French shooting guard still there. You still have a lot of stuff.
Oh, the dude with the 2 last names?
Yeah, Timothy. Yeah. So you have shooting, and you still have, I say it, Stauskas, who does okay. And with Simmons coming in, going to be playing your 1.
And you got Jarrell Henderson.
Yeah, you got. That's why I'm saying that your point guard, your guard spots are really already set up in Philly. That's why I'm saying Josh Jackson goes to them because they're going to need a wing defender, and they need a wing. I say a D and 3 guy, and with Jackson, you get a guy that plays great D. He played University of Kansas, really good player, and he gives you another guy to space out with Jahlil Okafor and Joel Embiid on the block and Saric. I mean that.
Oh yeah.
The crazy thing about Philly in this pick is eventually they're going to have to start winning. Eventually, yes, and it's
eventually they'll get out of the top 10.
I feel bad for Philly fans because I mean you had the history there. You had Dr. J, you had Moses Malone, the late Moses Malone.
You had
Charles
Iverson,
Barkley, Iverson. I mean, Philly fans are great fans. They're great sports town fans with the Eagles and everything else. They are great players. So, I think Josh Jackson will fit in there. He has, he's already known nationally. He's going to be a good player. So,
cool.
And again, yeah, Monk I just don't like him this early.
So I'm going to take Monk and you can take Jackson. How about that?
Uh,
okay, so for the 4th pick, I don't know if you have the same.
I think we actually do have the same pick.
I have Jason Tatum. And it's flat out because Jason Tatum is one of the most dominant scorers in this draft. Just think about this. You're going to have a lineup where it's going to be Bledsoe, Booker, Tatum, Bender, and then whoever their center is.
Len.
And
Alex Len, or even Tyson Chandler pending.
I think Chandler is probably going to be done soon. But yeah, that's going to be that backcourt and wing, or that front court and wing are going to be so deadly. It's not even funny. Like,
yeah, and the thing with
they're another team. Like you're like, when are they going to start winning?
I think and especially this is something with Phoenix, and I've seen recently in other mock drafts people saying Fox goes there. I can't see them picking a point guard because you already have Bledsoe, Knight, and Tyler Ulis. I mean, they don't need another situation back around in the it would probably be the 80s or 90s where they had Kevin Johnson, Jason Kidd, and I think Steve Nash all on the same team. That was your point guards. Now again, it was a very young Steve Nash and a young Jason Kidd. I think that was what it was. Something like that. They don't need to do that. They already have 3 pretty solid point guards.
Because probably the way the depth will work next season will probably be Bledsoe, Ulis, Knight.
Yeah, or I think
unless Knight comes back really strong, because obviously Knight had a really small season or really low season.
Well, and you could still play him at the 2 guard. I think they did. Again, you could play him off the ball too. So that's going to be another thing is that with Jason Tatum, you get yourself a 6'8" guy who can develop, get really good. I mean, their front line is already pretty well set with, I say, Chris, Len.
Oh, Chris, yes. They have Chris, that's right.
Chris, Len, Tyson Chandler, Bender, who did not play that much this year, who I think, again, I don't call him a bust yet. You got to let him develop.
He's a bully.
He's still skinny, though. Oh, my God. Again, a lot of these Euro guys, this is why I think a lot of these Euro big men, even Porzingis, they have to they got to let themselves fill out. And again, some of these kids are coming over, 18, 19-year-old kids. That's why it's really important for a lot of these teams just to sit there and wait a little bit. So, we both agree on
Tatum, and that's probably the most the Suns are going to get for even the offseason. Like, because like the reason why I don't think Knight's going to be that big of a part. He's still going to play. Obviously, they're going to try to keep him playing because he's still a good player. It's just they are trying to develop Derek Jones Jr., which he's really athletic and he's really good. Like he's really good long range or mid range. He needs to work on his long range game. But
I want to see more out of Derek Jones before I can really say, hey, he's got that spot set up though.
That's true.
Hey, let me throw another thing at you. Dallas needs a point guard. What do you think of a Dallas
Trade down?
Well, a trade down where Dallas trades their pick at 9 and other things. I don't know what all you could get out of Dallas because there's not a... Well, again, it's a tough thing to be in. Nah, I don't even think JJ Barea, I don't think will fit in this setup. But if you could get some stuff out of Dallas and then you trade for that pick and Brandon Knight, I mean, that could be a good pickup for Dallas.
But then they take Fox.
Well, yeah. Or even they just trade for Knight and you get picks and everything else. I mean,
that's true.
That could be a potentially sneaky good pick. I say a trade that could end up happening. And now we're at 5, and I think we both agree on this. This is
another one where we both agree.
Well,
I love the idea of De'Aaron Fox coming to Sacramento. I addicted to this idea. Like, he is going to be, and I predict that he's going to be the Kawhi point guard.
Oh.
His shooting might not get as good as Kawhi, but it's going to get better. You can't get any worse than
whatever.
What is it? 24.6. That was my red flag for this whole draft. Like, his shooting for a top 3 point guard is really low, but he still shoots 52% from the field. Like, he's still scoring.
He's a poor man's version of John Wall.
That's very true.
And the other thing is his shooting got better as it went on, and he dropped
39 on
over UCLA in the tournament. So I mean that's
that's why I like the fact we could get a point guard that took Lonzo Ball to the edge.
Honestly, I don't know. Again, he's a great player. I think he's a great setup for you guys if you guys get a point guard to sit in front of him, a George Hill. You get a point guard who can teach him and is willing to be like, hey, I'm going to slide into the background. I have him there partially because I don't have Josh Jackson. I have Josh Jackson and Jason Tatum going early. And if somehow they fall to the Kings, I would pick him because you have so many point guards in this draft. I mean, we have 5 in our top 10. I've got 5.
There's 5, yeah, because it's Fultz, Ball.
We'll get to them. We already named Fultz and Ball,
and now
Fox. I mean, there's a lot of point guards early on. I say in this draft that could be really good.
And there's a few that are going to be going second round and a little bit later, like Trumbull, who's
again you have
Trumbull.
You have a lot of really good players and you still in free agency. You're going to find point guard. Point guards are going to be. They're super important, and if you can find one that is transcendent, you're going to be good no matter what.
Lowry to sack.
I disagree with you on that because I don't know if he really leaves. Toronto's a really nice place. He's got a whole setup there. I mean,
I know, but he already opted out, and he's already said he wants to go to the West. He already locked out. He locked the door on Toronto.
Which, I don't know.
He already said it. He said he wants to go to the West. He wants...
Okay. I mean, I could see him going... I mean, there's a lot of places that are going to need point guards, though. That's going to be the hard part.
That's very true.
Now for...
Another thing that's really, really cool is the fact that during the interview that they had at the Combine, Fox loves Sacramento already. Like, he's already flat out said he's... Loves the fact that he got to meet Vlade and Peja, and Peja's one of his all-time favorite players, and
so he
wants to play with Willie. He wants to play with Scal. He wants to play with
all the Kentucky
boys.
So it's gonna again.
I've always known the Kings to be Kentucky heaven. Kings have always been Kentucky heaven.
They didn't get Anthony Davis or Michael.
But we had Pat. We had.
You guys have a lot. Again, you guys get a lot of Kentucky guys. Again, it could be probably one of the best picks of the draft for you guys, just with how it sets up.
I don't think we've ever taken a Kentucky guy and been mad. Because we took Pat, who was a good power forward.
Who's Pat?
Patrick Patterson. He was a good shooting power forward.
Yeah, but he
was like a homeless guy, Ryan Anderson.
Problem is that again he didn't really develop. So
all right, so we're locking Fox into Sacramento.
Yep. Okay, so 6.
This is where another differentiation.
This is here it comes. Here comes the.
I do not. I think that the farthest Josh Jackson will fall is to the Magic at 6, just because of the matter of the fact that they're gonna have Alfred Payton, they're gonna probably have Fournier at 2, they're gonna have Josh will play 3, and then obviously it's gonna be Vucevic and
Aaron Gordon.
And I don't see, I see him, falling out just because of his attitude. He could be, we hope that he's not as bad as DeMarcus, because we know nobody ever wants to be as bad as DeMarcus' attitude, because DeMarcus has that Rasheed Wallace attitude.
Yeah.
But Josh Jackson is taking, as we speak, while he's getting ready for the draft, he's taking anger management classes.
Yeah.
And he's still trying to get over the court case with the accident with the girl basketball player at Kansas.
The whole him hitting the car and all that madness or whatever.
I don't remember what it was. I think he got in a car accident with him and one of the girls from the females team.
But
I know his talent outranks that, but a lot of teams look at your attitude. That's why I'm saying Fox to Sacramento, because he wants to be there.
I agree. Here's the thing with Jackson, though. Jackson, I see him going earlier because he's in Kansas where there's not a lot to do. Honestly, there's a lot. It's a talent school. You're going to get incredibly talented guys. You have Andrew Wiggins come out of there. Just to say one, you have a lot of really talented guys.
But you have Ben McLemore come out of there.
And you have your dud. I mean, you have Thomas Robinson, Ben McLemore coming out of there, to say a few for you guys. But I think he goes higher because, especially with Philly and Phoenix needing somebody, and Sacramento all needing help at that wing position, you're gonna.
I think if we can avoid it,
if you can, again, you don't want to let him slide though, because there's prudence, and then there's hey, you know what? He's a young kid. He's gonna get better. He's learning. He made some dumb mistakes.
So the way I look at this is if we have Fox or we have Jackson, and Fox is a point guard that looks really good, other than his shooting, which he can improve, which a lot of people can improve on their shooting. With Summer League, he'll have Summer League for 2 to 3 years, I think it is, for a lot of the younger players.
Yeah,
and then you have Jackson, who already has problems, and you're going to be going to the draft with problems. So you either have a player that loves the city, or you have a player that has problems. Oh. And DeMarcus had problems in college, too. Even at Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. Again, I still think he goes higher just because his talent will outrank some of his problems. And he's known as a winner, and he wants to win.
And then, who do you have at 6? Sorry.
At 6, I have another potential problem child, and Dennis Smith Jr. Because I don't think Orlando believes enough in Elfrid Payton, and because Elfrid Payton is going to be a restricted free agent in the next couple of years, and you have Frank Vogel, who was a coach who wants two-way guys. I mean, he was up in Indiana. I say great coach. They also, another thing Orlando got that I think is one of the sneaky acquisitions is I think they just got the Bucks GM to come down there. Which again,
they did have to get rid of a second rounder to get the Bucks GM to come down. Or no. They had to get rid of a second rounder to get the president from Toronto to come down.
But still, you're grabbing two play. So that tells me that organization's like, hey, we want to start winning again. Back in the 90s when you had Shaq and Penny Hardaway.
That's true.
And even when they
had T-Mac.
Oh, they had T-Mac and Dwight Howard. So you have some great history there, even as young as they are. I think they go Smith because, again, the thing that worries me about Smith is because of how the whole North Carolina State season went. That gives me I think he could slide way lower. I think he goes this high because they need somebody at the two guard. I don't think Monk goes there because with their past record of drafting two guards high isn't great, especially since they still have to wait on Huzzonia to see if he's going to develop.
And Huzzonia has a really bad attitude too.
Well, again, there's a lot of things that could go into it too, though. I mean, you get drafted and then
a lot of how I see game is the fact that you want people that have you want people that can bring good chemistry to the team right off the bat. That's why I'm going back to Fox. I know it was two picks ago, but Fox's chemistry in Kentucky was fantastic. He was a floor general. He was amazing.
And that may be why they may want Monk there, because if you're going for the chemistry element, you're probably going to want Monk going to
at
them.
6?
At 6. I think that could be a really good fit. I've seen other people say that. Again, I still think they need a point guard that besides Elfrid Payton, because I think they're going to, again, he's been there for 3 years. They haven't been that successful, and you're going to need, they have a really bad, I think they were in the bottom third of the league in offense. So you're looking for somebody who can really score, who can still ball handle, who can still play defense. So that's why I'm saying him, I still say Smith at 6.
Okay, so, and going against my thing is the one thing is the nice thing is one of the small forwards that was quote-unquote leaked when they were showing one of their players from last year signing at Orlando, was they accidentally linked their draft board.
Oh goodness!
They showed their free agent board, and one of the free agents was Rudy Gay that they were going to target. So Rudy Gay mentoring Josh Jackson might be big for Orlando, just because of the fact that he knows how to play, he knows how to bring a good attitude on certain nights. He obviously knows on other nights, but
yeah, no, I think that could be a potentially good one. But I think they already have never mind. Jeff Green is unrestricted, yeah. So they don't have to worry about that. That could
be someone that if the Kings low key want to get.
I wouldn't. Again, as a Boston fan, I don't want him because he's great some nights and
wasn't he on Boston?
He was on Boston. He got traded. It was a whole weird thing. He ended up back in Boston. Thing with Jeff Green is some nights 40 amazing. Other nights you're like, did he even play? And he started and played a lot of minutes. So that's something that I don't think you guys really need at this point. You guys need someone a little more consistent. So now we're going to...
So you're locking in Smith at 6. I'm going
Smith, yeah.
I'm going Jackson. So we're going at 7. It's another fun. And the thing about what you said, and I'm kind of surprised, is the fact that later on, he has Lauri Markkanen going 11. He falls completely out of the top 10. I am going to the T-Wolves at 7. Just imagine a lineup where it's either Ricky Rubio or Derrick Rose or whoever they have. Derrick Rose, Ricky Rubio, who both can pass well. They're good passers.
Yeah.
You have Zach LaVine, who, even though he's coming off of a big injury, he might be a little bit lower in his talent-wise, but he'll still be able to get bounce. Because you don't lose bounce from an injury. That you can.
You can.
But he's probably still bouncing as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'll have Wiggins at 3. And then Markkanen can either play 4 or 5. They could have Cat play 4 if they really need to. But just imagine Cat and Markkanen both can shoot the 3 ball.
Yeah.
So you have a lineup there that potentially everybody but possibly Rubio can shoot a consistent 3 ball.
Yeah.
I know you have a completely different decision.
I think it could be a good fit. I just think with Gorgie Dang being a great defensive guy as another setup for Cat, I think that front line defensively and with Markkanen having questions on defense and your coach being and president being Tibbs, I don't know if he really likes getting that because he's going to want to have a defensive guy.
So I did look up earlier, or I looked up before, and from what I looked at, it was comparing Zach Collins to Markkanen, and Zach Collins went to Gonzaga, and his defensive stats are phenomenal for being in a bad conference.
But he's also a 6-man.
Well, yes, but you look at Markkanen, who was in a super hard conference, was always a starter, and had 100 more possessions on defense than Collins did.
Okay. I mean, the thing with Marketing, he has great offensive ability. I just don't like him this early to Minnesota because I think they need other things. I think they need 3-point shooting like a hole in their head. And that's why I have Malik Monk going down there because they need a shooter. They need shooters. I like Wiggins, but Wiggins isn't a shooter.
What about
Muhammad, he's coming off the bench. You need a knockdown shooter who's going to be consistent, and they're in the bottom third of the league in 3-point percentage. And
so just think about this. You're going to have 3 shooting guards that can all shoot the 3 ball. How are you going to play them? Are you going to have Malik play? Are you going to have Zach play small ball, shooting small forward, and have Malik play small? Or shooting guard? Or are you going to have Malik play point guard?
I think you could go. What you could have is Zach LaVine did play. I think he played point guard
A little bit
at UCLA. So you could have LaVine going at your 1, Malik Monk at your 2.
Zach going 1, Malik Monk going 2.
Zach going 1, Malik Monk going 2, Wiggins at 3, Towns, because and actually it'd be a great fit for Monk because he doesn't have to worry about getting killed with size. He could match up with the other team's point guard, who's going to be probably around the 6 foot to 6'4", and in some cases maybe even 6'6" Lonzo Ball, but he's already guarded Alonzo Ball.
That's true.
So I think it'd be a great fit for him just because, and he can get better on defense, and Tibbs is going to work guys into the ground. And I think having an extra 3-point shooter on that team, I don't think it hurts them. And I think they really need it because they are so bad in the 3-point department, and they're going to need more, be able to score a little bit more because defensively they're going to be good.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
In your opinion, any team that picks up Lauri Markkanen, they instantly go up in the 3-point percentage.
Maybe not instantly, but
42% from the field 3-pointer, who also shoots 54 from the field.
Again, it depends on. Is he going to get shots? That's my worry.
He's going to get shots.
I think he will.
He's going to get shots.
Yeah.
He's Arizona. He's going to get shots.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to get shots. Okay. So I have Markkanen. You got Monk.
Yep.
We're moving down to 8. We have another equaling. The choice is Frank Ntilikina. That's how I've heard it pronounced. Ntilikina.
Frank, yeah.
And so he played 34 games, only averaged 5 points. But from what I remember, he did come off the bench for the French team. For the French team. But yeah, his size, his demeanor, his wingspan is crazy big for a point guard.
He's 6'5", 170, so he's going to have to get a little bigger.
Well, he's going to get bulkier. He's going to get 190, 195.
Yeah, and he's not even 19 yet.
That's true.
So, that's a great setup if you're the Knicks. It could potentially be a little scary. I've also thought about if Smith slid to them, that could be a really good pickup because the Knicks need a lot of things. One, they need stability post Melo and Phil when they both leave.
Do you think Melo's for sure leaving in the offseason?
I don't know when. I know that there's going to be a divorce between Melo and Phil and the Knicks.
Who goes first?
I think it could potentially be Phil because I don't know if Melo.
I feel like the city has too much love for Melo
They do. Melo's a hometown boy, so I think Phil could end up leaving, but Melo eventually is going to leave because he still needs a championship. He's an all-time great.
That's true.
He's a great scorer. He's probably one of the best scorers of our generation. But he had the thing I'm worried about with him is that he's going to win a championship when he's like a 6-man or something like. I'd love to see him as that, but I don't think when he's leading a team because he needs the ball.
I feel like sooner or later
with this French kid, I said,
I want to see a bunch of Knicks fans cry again.
Oh my goodness! Don't be that mean to Knicks fans, man. hey, they love their team.
But hey, when they cry, they get an all-star player.
That is true, and with this kid, you're going to have him and Porzingis ultimately going to be around. Hopefully, as long
Years.
as Phil doesn't do anything stupid or Porzingis doesn't do anything stupid. They're going to be around for a while. And this kid is a pass first point guard, which you're going to need because you have Melo, you have Porzingis, Joakim Noah, who's going to be off his contract, Courtney Lee. You're gonna have a lot, and plus I think they're going to looking to bring in guys. So having a fast first point guard who's like, hey, I'm going to give up the rock, or even if you get somebody in front of him and let him develop for another year or two. What do you mean? I mean, even if he stayed over in France for another year, it wouldn't hurt. Would it not be helpful? I think Knicks fans would be really annoyed at him, but I wouldn't be worried. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's going to be 19, probably around the same time the draft starts. So I like that pick. I think it's a good fit, and it will just be a good setup for the Knicks. So
I agree with you. So moving on to the 9th pick, I have the Dallas Mavericks taking Dennis Smith Jr. With the departure of Deron Williams, and now they have JJ and Devin and Yogi Ferrell,
who could be really good.
Yes, Yogi Ferrell showed a lot of promise.
And Seth.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
I see, but one of the big reasons why I feel like they would take him is they would take him and then they would put him in a trade.
Okay, who we putting in the trade? Let's talk some trades.
So we put him in a trade, and we put one of their future draft picks in a trade, and they could go for more of a, because what they have Dirk, Seth, so that's center, power forward.
Nerlens
is gonna be a free agent, so they got to get him back.
Yeah, that'll be.
They could go for they don't really have a good. Well, they have Powell.
They have Powell. They have.
I see them
they
they
still have Wesley Matthews. So you have Harrison Barnes, Wesley Matthews, Dirk. If you can keep Nerlens,
I could see them trying to use him as like a pick to send him to Philly, and get Okafor and like a future Philly pick, and then that way they have like a good backup.
I don't see them doing that though, because I don't think Philly gets. Well, Philly could get rid of Okafor because they do have Saric, who probably has been playing better.
Plays a lot better.
The problem with Okafor is this: if you make that deal, is Okafor going to be your heir to Dirk? Because if he's your heir to Dirk, and you keep Nerlens, you're running into a lot of trouble because you're basically gonna have to go back to old school basketball. You're gonna have to be posting them up a lot, and I don't think that's gonna really work, especially for a Dallas team that loves going up and down. And Rick Carlisle, who's a great coach, and they want to get up and down, and then they're in the West. I don't see them playing that type of ball. I think again, and so I picked Zach Collins going this high. And it seems weird, especially since he really burst on the national scene in the Elite Eight, Final Four, in the NCAA tournament, and he's a young guy. I thought he was going to go back to. I think he should go back to school maybe, and I think he could be a top 3, top 4 pick in the next year. But he has a great. I think what you're going to see is they pick him, they wait, they let him develop.
They might send him to the D League first.
Oh yeah, they send him to the D League, let him develop, and then that's your heir.
Excuse me, the G League.
What G League? What?
It's called the G League now.
Okay. I'm just gonna always consider the D League.
That's true.
The other thing but he's your heir to Dirk, because Dirk, I don't know how long he's gonna keep playing. He's a great player.
Well, yeah.
Dirk is a Hall of Famer, first ballot. He's probably one of the more underrated. Again, him and Duncan are probably two of the most underrated players of all time.
Underrated?
Oh yeah, Dirk has been revolutionized his position.
That's true.
And Tim Duncan doesn't get enough love for five rings and always being
MVP a couple times
and being as good as he is. So I think Zach Collins is your heir because he gives you shot blocking and all the shooting. I think that's a great setup for him.
So, let me give you this. If they were in a different division, would he still be as good?
Yes.
Zach Collins would still be as good if they were in a different division. Since
Oh,
Gonzaga is the best of their division.
Well, in the WAC, I mean, versus
If he was in the
Gonzaga,
Pac-12,
I think he would because he wasn't playing a ton of minutes, and with the team he was on, they were a lot of older guys, so he wasn't going to be playing a ton of minutes.
that's true.
And he gives you offense, and he's going to shot block, and he's an energy kid. I think that that translates to every other league, and he still has I don't know if he has super elite athleticism, but he still has enough athleticism where he can get away with being a really good player in most other conferences. So I think yes, he could be. If he ends up staying or coming back or whatever, and coming back to school, I think he goes top 3, top 4 next year. But
Zach Collins going top 3 for that 4 next year.
Yes. He's a 7-footer. He's a 7-footer, 230. He puts on 10 pounds, 240. He can really shoot. He can rebound. He can do all that. I mean,
since Miles Bridges is heading back to Michigan, I saw that he's going to go from a 15 overall to a 5 overall.
Again, there's things about having guys go back to school for that second year to get better. They're a lot more mature. They're going to be able to lead teams and everything. I think it's such a big asset to be able to go back to school. And I think he could benefit the most. But since he's already coming out, I mean, I'd pick him, and then he's more of a pick and store. So he could go 10 through, he could go from 9 through probably 15 or even later, depending on which team. So now for the 10 pick.
So I'm locked in with Smith. You're locked in with Collins.
Yep.
And so for the 10th pick,
I think we both have this. Do we both have?
We both have Isaac, right?
Yep, we both have Isaac.
So Jonathan Isaac, if he falls this far, because obviously he's still a really good, talented small forward, which a lot of teams would not be mad to have. I like him going to this position. Obviously, Kings are in really hard, that's a really big need is wing. We need a wing player, and he'd be great if if we wanted to play him at the stretch 4 position.
Oh yeah,
and
he's a great setup for you guys because he gives you guys a shooter potentially if you guys go small with him and Willie, and then Buddy Hield at your 3, and then you could go down. You could go small with that lineup, and especially if you guys get Fox, and you guys can keep Lawson. I mean, you guys could have a really nice small ball lineup where you guys could just run guys.
Fox, Lawson, and Galloway.
Oh, I mean, you guys could run guys. Woo! I mean, it'd be better if you guys were up in Denver where you guys have the altitude. You could just run teams into the ground. But you guys could run on teams, and with Willie running the court or Scal, having another guy out there to shoot, and again, this kid could be, 12 points a game, 8 rebounds, 1 assist at Florida State in the ACC, where he's dealing with Duke, where he's dealing with Carolina, he's dealing with NC State. And again, ACC is probably the toughest, if not is the toughest basketball conference. And I say, so he's not, they don't look great, but...
Do you think he's a project?
He could be. I think, again...
Do you think he's a come in right away and get some stuff done kind of player? Or?
Well, he's 6... You may let him rest, wait a little bit. I mean, there are comparisons to him to KD. But he's 6'11", and 205, so he's going to have to put on a little bit of meat, because otherwise he's going to get pushed around a little bit. I think you got to let him wait, and once you get him going, and he's all set, he could be a really good player. He could be one of the steals in the draft that going back in the next 3 years, everybody goes back and that guy was a great player. So we both agree on the...
So I also... another thing that I've heard from is the fact that if the Kings do get either Fox or one of the other 2 higher point guards at 5, or not higher, but one of the other 2 of the 5.
Yeah.
If they don't get it, then they'll try to use the 10th pick to draft one of those 2.
Yeah.
But if they do get it, They would use the 10th pick and possibly package up that with the 34 and Kufis to try to go to Portland to get the 15 or the 15 and 20 or 15 and 26 and Mo Harkless.
I think that could be a good pick, but I think it's going to depend. I don't think Portland makes it unless Isaac's on the board or someone else or another small forward is on the board. Because if you get rid of Harkless, Portland, you have Damian.
Crab can play small forward.
Well, you could have that, but again, you still want another decent small forward up there because the rest of that team is pretty well set up for the future, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do next year, especially with Lillard coming back for another year, CJ, the guy is in Nurkic. The guy
that they traded Miles Plumlee for.
Yes, the guy that they got from Denver.
Or
that could
Mason
be
Plumlee.
Yes, that could be a really good
lineup.
And
then having Kufas as the backup for Nurkic would be good.
Oh yeah, and it gives another veteran presence. So
yeah, we both agree on Jonathan.
Yep.
Isaac, and so we're going on to 11. I have Charlotte Hornets taking Zach Collins at 11. I think with them having obviously they have the really crazy contracts from Batum and from Melvin Williams. It'd be good to get what's his name? It'd be good to get Collins. It'd be good to get Collins because because he's a really good defensive-minded player.
yeah,
And with them having Zeller and Frank Kaminsky, Frank Kaminsky, don't get me wrong, is a really good scoring big man. But Zeller is not. Zeller is not a good defensive player. So you would need someone like Collins to be a good defensive six man.
Okay. Yeah, and it's going to be weird here because I have marketing going this. The hard part with Charlotte is I could see a lot of different players going here. I could see a 2-guard going. I could see them going and picking up a Justin Jackson, I could see them going over or even trading back this pick because their GM likes to pick big guys early. I mean, there's a joke about how he picked 2 or 3 Big Ten big guys in a row for a couple drafts ago. So I don't know, again, I think he could be looking at another big, but he's not gotten a lot of great bigs. I mean, Al Jefferson was drafted by Boston, and then he ended up in Charlotte. There's power forward. Again, they're in such a weird place right now for Charlotte because again, you have Kemba, who's a great player. You have Al Jefferson. No, Al Jefferson's not even there anymore.
No, he's on Indiana.
I mean, you have Batum. You have a lot of pieces there to be great, to be good, and even compete.
You got Kemba.
Oh yeah, you have Kemba.
You got Walker.
Yeah, exactly. So I have marketing because you're going to need. But again, he could potentially. I think they could trade back this pick. I think they're going to be trading back, trying to get themselves Justin Jackson or somebody else.
I feel like marketing would just be them trying to rerun the whole get Frank the Tank.
Which again, Frank.
I don't really like the fact that they would have 2 7-footers that can both shoot a 3-ball on the floor at the same time.
Which again, I think they would then trade Frank the Tank or somebody else. And again, it's a tough thing right here because I don't know. I don't see marketing. I think if he drop maybe one more pick or a couple, but I don't see him dropping that much more because again, he's a 7-footer that can shoot, and they're again with the small ball lineups and the desire for stretch fours, you're gonna need guys that can shoot. So I think even me sliding him to 11 is very difficult for me to see. So
true. So I got Collins, you got marketing. So to move on to 12 for Detroit, I got Justin Jackson. Now, the reason why I say that is because Justin Jackson is a really good 3-and-D player, and he's going to get you buckets. And one thing that Detroit has had is the fact that the only person that can get a good three ball up, the only two people would be either um, either Caldwell Pope or who's going to be probably not on the team for much longer.
Yeah,
He's probably going to go somewhere else. Or the other guy, the Harris. Harris and Stanley Johnson can somewhat shoot a good three ball, but like they're the only ones who can consistently shoot a three ball, and so that's why I think Justin Jackson would bring a lot of good shooting to the team. And then you obviously have.
I have TJ Leaf, which is a bit of a stretch. I know there's a lot of people that make. Again, I see a lot of draft boards that have him way lower. I see others. I see it, but they need another guy outside. They need to be able to have a guy that they can push Tobias back to the 3 spot, and then even if Caldwell Pope leaves, then you still have Stanley Johnson. So you could have a lot of moving pieces. I like TJ Leaf. He played really well at UCLA. I think he's a lot better player than most people would give him credit. Some may say, well, he played with Lonzo Ball and whoever else on that UCLA team. But they were a really good, again, odds on offense. And I watched UCLA live when they came to Sacramento for the tournament when they destroyed Kent State. That team offensively, that ball's moving. They can all shoot. They can all pass. I think he's a great asset for Detroit because that gives somebody they can space out around Drummond. Drummond can just sit on the block and just go to work and rebound and let him have the paint as his domain, and then you have him step out, make shots, and still be a skilled player. So I have TJ Leaf.
Cool. And then moving on to 13. The Nuggets will be going into an offseason where they're going to lose their star shooting small forward and Gallinari.
Yeah.
Dino Gallinari.
Oh yeah.
So I see them, even though he's not going to be available at Summer League. I see them taking OJ the small forward from Indiana. He can stretch the floor really well. He's a really good defensive-minded small forward. He can still shoot pretty decently. He's got a 70 from the 70%, which he only played 16 games because he's obviously coming off this injury, so he didn't play much, but he still had pretty good shooting numbers. His rebound numbers were good. Not that big of a deal with turnovers. So
he is 6'8", 215, so he's going to have good size too.
I've heard a lot of comparisons to him, like a defensive-minded Wiggins.
Yeah, and again, he could be a really good spot because at Denver you have Gary Harris, you have your Kenneth Reed, and you still have all your front line all set up.
Yeah.
So giving him another one, I'm a little bit different. I have them getting Ivan Rabb, who again didn't look as good this year. I mean, granted, he didn't have Jaylen Brown with him, and again, Cal. They didn't really have that good of a
Cal's
team.
not really in a hard.
They are in a hard league though. They're in the Pac-12, so they're a tough league. And when you're the primary spot and you don't have anybody else kind of to share with, I mean, he could be. I think he could go this again. He could have came out last year a lot better. He probably would have gotten drafted a lot earlier, but he decided to stay in school. This is one of those times where staying in school probably didn't help him. But
unlike Justin Jackson, who developed his three ball and got 10 times better.
Well, again, and that's the thing is that's the argument for some of these guys is like if you stay in school, what else are you going to add, and how much more are you going to get better?
Yeah.
And then but the other thing is that if you stick around too long, they can start picking you a little bit.
That's
so
true.
like I say where. There's the guys like a Buddy Hield, Justin Jackson that it proves their draft stock to stay in school. Other guys, you wait too long, like a Grayson Allen. Perfect example. He's sitting out this year, which if he had left not this year but last year, top 5 pick probably. Great player, but then of course his attitude and the tripping and everything else is really hurting him. And I think he could end up being one of those guys where next year when he comes out, if he comes out to play for the NBA, he could go in like the 20s or something like that and be probably one of the better players right off the bat because he's a good player. I think honestly, he's a guy who needs to get control of some stuff. So
another thing is to go along with players that stay in school. Malik Pope from San Diego State was supposed to be a one and done player. He stayed in the league 4 extra years and has said he's always every year he said he was going to declare for it, and every year he's gone worse at San Diego State.
Yeah, and again that's a one-time example. You can have guys where they just wait a little bit and get better, and it's a tough spot because if you're going to and something like that, if you declare, just go ahead and go in and do it, and then and what the NBA has been really wise about doing, and I have to give them credit, is giving away for if they want to go back to school.
That's true.
Because that's a really hard thing is that if you're going to declare and then you see, hey, something is wrong or maybe I'm not going as high as I want to or something like that, being able to go back to school that year, finish up your degree or work on stuff, you're going to get better. And the other thing is that we're seeing a lot of guys, these one-and-done guys that you're going to have to wait a little bit. I mean, Jaleel, and you're also seeing a lot of other problems where guys aren't ready for the league. I mean, you have Jaleel Okafor and what happened in Boston. I think it was his rookie year. That's not good. That's not a good look.
In Philly?
Oh, well, I think it was in Boston at a nightclub, and he was.
Oh, yeah.
That whole mess, the D'Angelo Russell thing with Nick Young, that whole mess. I think there's some prudence to saying, hey, maybe not 1 year and done, maybe 2 years may help a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Just to be mature, because again, these guys are coming off getting nothing from playing college basketball, or even if they're in Europe, you're not getting paid a ton, to millions of dollars and being the face of the franchise and all the other things that come into with it. So maybe that may be a better thing for the league to look at is maybe go 2 years, or even if you don't want to go to college, go to is it the G League now?
The G League. Got the Gatorade League.
Okay,
because Gatorade is the main sponsor.
Well, again, I think, and it could be really, really, again, that could be a really good setup, and it's getting better. It's not as good. Again, the best minor league setup is Major League Baseball by a long shot because they've been around for 100 years. They've been using the farm system for as long, if not longer. So
that's true. So I got OG and you got
Rab
going. So we both got power forward kind of. And so 14 is our last one we're going to talk about today. It is the Miami Heat. Miami has had their ups and downs. They lost Wade last year. They lost LeBron a few years ago. They're going to lose. They're losing Bosch at the end of this year.
They're losing Bosch because of health stuff, which is going to be really good because it gives them a lot of money to go after people in free agency.
Very true.
The biggest, again, and I have them going. I may switch up my pick. Originally, I was going to say John Collins. I don't like it personally because I think, as a fit, I don't know if it's a great fit, and I think with Pat Riley and this whole staff, I say with the whole Miami Heat staff, they're going to go best player on the board. So I think they're going to go with Justin Jackson here, and it may be like, well, they already have Justice Winslow. They already have.
I think they'll. I bet they'll re-sign Rab, or not Rab.
Wade.
Babbitt.
Oh, Babbitt. They have a lot of people there, but I mean, this guy is way too good to miss.
That's true.
I mean, you can't. I mean, if you wait too long, I mean, if Justin Jackson falls outside the top 14, there are gonna be a lot of people kicking themselves because he is gonna. I think he's immediate. He's a guy that can immediately contribute and. Miami is... He's
one of the most NBA-ready players.
And I say ready to play right off the bat.
That's true.
And with Miami getting ready to... They want to compete again. And they got the pieces to compete again. I mean, you have Whiteside who's really good. You have Dragic. You have Winslow, Dragic. Waiters, Johnson. I mean... They want guys that can come in and immediately contribute, and they can go over and start competing for playoff spots again. And they have a lot of money in free agency, so they could go get guys.
Very true.
So, and that's going to be very interesting to see how they go after guys, especially now that they have a lot of money to throw at. So,
my pick is Donovan Mitchell. Being 6'3" and being just really good for his age. He's not that old yet, but like at Louisville, he scored 16 points while shooting 46 and 35 and 80. So from percentage wise, so I think Miami could use. I know Waiters can shoot the three. Dragic could shoot the three.
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson is like on his last year though, I think, and he'll probably go to somebody better. Like he's a really good backup small shooting guard.
But they paid a lot of money to keep him.
I know they did. So
yeah.
I do end up seeing. They'll probably not take Mitchell, but in my mind, Mitchell is a really good shooter, and I think he could be a really good, like, if they don't have a lot of confidence, because Josh Richardson, one of their backup shooting guards, small forwards, has been injured a lot. So if they really need someone that can, like, come off sooner and, like, can get some energy going, then this could be their guy.
Yeah, and I think it could be a good fit. The thing is that especially if they start looking at a D Wade coming back, which I think is still a possibility, because now, and here's why, they have the money. The biggest thing that they insult D Wade, yes, with the money element, but part of it also was they had the Chris Bosh's contract, which is essentially a dead contract where they can't do that much with that money. Now they can say, hey, you know what, you want to come back? They have a team to compete, and because D Wade was Miami, and I think he will always. I think everybody will remember him as a Miami Heat player. I think it could be he could potentially come back. So I think they would leave a little bit of that spot open. But again, it's going to be really interesting to see with Miami because they can compete right away, and they're going to be trying to pick up free agents and everything. Because, I mean, they could be. I don't know if they're going to be. They're for sure going to be in the play. I think they're in the playoffs next year. I don't see
Miami in the playoffs next year.
Oh yeah. I think they're going to be. I think they're now. Do I think they're going to be like?
So I'm going to say the Kings are going to be in the playoffs next year.
It's a lot tougher to be in the playoffs.
I know in the West.
Goodness.
I know.
That's going to be. It's going to be, and especially if Kyle Lowry comes out west. If Kyle Lowry comes out west, you guys could. It could be real, especially depending on where he goes. But even that's a tough place. And with Chris Paul talking with the Spurs, which I don't know if that's true. But if that is true,
it's true.
Oof. I mean, now the Clippers fall off the face of the earth, but you still have a lot of teams that could really.
So they're going to be a deep lottery team. So that's one.
Lakers probably going to still.
Lakers going to stay lottery,
which is they're in this, and actually this is why them getting the 2 pick was so important is because if they fell out of the top 3, goes to Philly. I think next year's pick. They had a pick going someplace else. They had a lot of picks going out if they got out of the top 3. So them keeping that is really nice for them. So I still think the Lakers are going to be there. Phoenix, I still see because I think they're going to be young and developing.
I think they need a better coach.
I think Earl Watt, you got to give him time to develop. And that's the biggest thing is that he's a former NBA player. He's a former NBA point guard. Really good. Not a great player, but he's a good player. And you don't want great players always being coaches because they don't always turn out to be the best coaches. I mean, Bill Russell, one of the best players of all time, not the best coach. Magic, I think, was a coach for a while. And you can never see Michael being a coach. LeBron, I think
Kobe will be a good front office person.
Kobe could be a great front office person, but he's not going to be a good coach. I think front office is that difference between front office versus coach.
That's true.
Bird was a really good front office and a really good coach, but he's the only one. I mean, there's a lot of other players that are.
Doc Rivers?
He wasn't an elite player, though.
That's true.
Good player, not elite. Patrick Ewing, I think, is probably going to be a good coach with him at Georgetown. I think he'll be a good coach, but I don't know. Again, with elite players, it's hard because they have put in all the time and work and they know all the stuff. Versus a role player, you can see everything, you look at everything, you're like, okay, You know how everything works. You're used to being bounced around from city to city. So I think they end up being better coaches. I think long run, short, and maybe they don't have as much big name celebration as an elite coach, but
Of course.
yeah. So
Yeah, well, that was 1 through 14. Obviously, we don't know exactly what everybody's going to choose, what everyone's thinking in their mind. Obviously, other teams have more information than a lot of people do. Us. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to comment down below if you guys have any what your guys' top 14 would be, or if you guys have any links to like what your guys' if you guys have recorded any top 14 draft lotteries or anything like that. Just make sure to hit the like button because it shows us support and shows that you guys are really enjoying the videos. And I would love to collab with you later on.
Oh yeah, no, hey.
Possibly for free agency and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll do like a little free agency videos, top 5 best signs, top 5 worst signs, contracts. We could do a whole bunch of fun stuff with free agency sometime. So
thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yep. So I'll see you guys later, Hoop fans.